So I've been keeping up with this whole debate going on between Fresh and Fit and Abba and Preach, right? And what this reminded me of is MTR versus Blue Pill Sam. In a way, it reminded me of MTR versus Blue Pill Sam. And I'll say what I mean, because they had a debate about, spending a lot of money on the first date and investing in a woman and investing versus building, right? So MTR stance was that, you know, dealing with a woman is an investment of your time and an investment of your resources, and you should be a smart steward of your resources and want to deal with a woman who is going to be a good investment. So you scout out the stock just like you do when you're investing, and you see if the business, you look at the trajectory of it, and then you decide whether or not it's a good decision. Blue Pill Sam's mentality was, regardless of that woman's stance, regardless of her history, if I like her, she's attractive to me, then I can build her up to wherever I want her to be. And his time, his energy, his resources, he's kind of more so with an abundance mindset when it comes to that stuff, right? Now, let's take a look at how this affects something I'm talking about. Something I talk about not as much as I should, but something that I do in other spaces, other platforms. I talk about how there's a difference. There's two different types of red pill game. There's two different types of two segments of men who talk about dating and relationships when it comes to YouTube and this space and the manosphere. There's the looks, money, status guys who claim that they have game, but their game is really about using their looks, money, and status as a carrot in front of a woman, trying to entice her what she may have, but you may not give her, and then getting sex out of it, and then leaving the woman alone for a woman who you feel is more attractive or whatever it is. And a lot of these men also judge women for their sexual past. They're sexually judgmental, and a lot of them, they believe that money should be their bait. They say it shouldn't be, but then they double talk on that. And then you have the men who are men who emphasize sexual attraction, game, having a mouthpiece, knowing how to seduce a woman, knowing how to turn a woman on sexually, and then from that place only dealing with women who have that level of desire for you. One thing that I'll think is an issue when it comes to tricking, like one thing I've said before, is if you have more money than time, sometimes for you, tricking may not be the worst thing. Like if you don't have time or the social skills to learn game, then tricking may be it for you. I think I probably respect tricking more than I respect feeling like you need to invest in a woman financially in order to have sexual access to her. Because when you're trying to provide for a woman in order to have sexual access to her, when that's not necessary, especially in this day and age, what you're doing is you're trying to convince yourself that you're not paying for pussy by paying for it, but just expecting something emotional out of it. So I kind of respect tricking more, but it's still not what I respect the most. It's not what I respect the most. So when I'm looking at the debate between Fresh and Fit and Abba and Preach, what we're really exposing a lot of the times is that a lot of red pill guys have a very scarcity mindset when it comes to women. And not only that, but a lot of them aren't as masculine as they come off to be, because their masculinity is based on accruing financial or social success and then leveraging that to get women, while giving the impression that it's about game and sexual attraction, all these different things. But Abba and Preach, they are more realistic about it. Like, you know what? Alpha males, different kind of guys like that. And I disagree with their definition of an alpha male. But talking about social alpha males. Social alpha males use their resources to get women. And sometimes they're, in a country that's not theirs, or they just need discretion, or they don't want to deal with any drama. So they just pay the money and they sleep with the women. And you get what you pay for. And I think that's one thing that they express. A lot of things are anecdotal on the side of Fresh and Fit, and that they were really getting in their egos. They were really getting in their feminine energy about how they were so mad about the arguments that were made, because it was hypocritical as well. And they got called out on their hypocrisy, and they got called on the fact that they ain't really want to fight Preach, as short as he is. Listen, dude, I heard a dude walk around with a machete when he go out of town. That's a Haitian. Other dude, he was in the military. Like, you got to stop thinking that blurs and guys who aren't super macho on the surface are guys who can't fight. A lot of people think I look like a youth pastor or a damn school teacher, or like I'm in the military or whatever it is, and they think I'm a nice guy. But it's like, listen, I'm an undefeated boxer. I've knocked plenty of niggas out. I'm only 5'9", maybe 190 pounds. Weight fluctuates, but some people think I'm 5'10", but I've knocked out guys like 6'4", 230. So it's an understanding that there's a substance to masculinity, and then there's a symbol of masculinity. Looks, money, status are symbols of masculinity. Those symbols can attract people, But what you really need to attract a woman with is the substance of it. The symbol makes it easier, but the substance is what's more important, and that can be displayed through your character, through your masculinity in your character. And Abba and Preach, they're consistent with their stances and they're consistent with their character. I may not agree with everything they say, but I love and I really approve of a lot of their content, and I like the fact that they have conversations that are difficult for other people, even though I don't always agree. But let's say that it's a matter of why I think that prostitution may not be the best choice for a lot of guys. There's a topic called overstimulation. A lot of people, they don't understand what overstimulation is and how it works. I think Abba and Preach have a pretty decent understanding of it, but this is something you need to know. As a man, you don't need to deal with a woman like, and I'm gonna say this in the most best way that I can. If you can't get a woman with good mental health, or who's at least stable and not openly promiscuous, as a woman who can open up to you sexually, if you can't do that with a regular woman, then all you're doing by getting a woman who a sage burning bitch, or one of these no limit soldiers, or getting one of these women who are really masculine but hypersexual, or getting one of these women who are very and I'm not saying that to judge them, I'm just talking about archetypes, or you're getting a woman who has, sage burner, she has no boundaries anyways, or she doesn't have good mental health. Like, when you can only open up a woman sexually who has that perspective, she's not open because of you. It takes a minimal amount of masculine energy to actually open a woman up sexually, a small amount of actual dominant energy for a woman who doesn't view you as a complete man. Sometimes women have gentleman gigolo complexes. Neither the gentleman nor the gigolo are men who are in a dominant position. Many women, they separate those two categories of men, and when they separate those categories of men, if your dominance and your sex appeal is too high, they put you in the short-term category, because yielding to that is going to feel like it's hurting their image of themselves. If it's low enough but high enough, maybe around the 7 level of sexual attraction range, not attraction, because attraction can be a 10, it can still be a 6, or it can be a 9 and it can still be a 6, and sometimes it can be a 7 and the sexual attraction can be a 9. So I'm talking about sexual attraction. If that is like around a 7, 6, usually that's good relationship range for women, because it allows them to have control over themselves sexually and control over themselves emotionally, because they don't desire or respect you enough for them to feel that feminine desire pulling them towards being submissive with you. So a lot of times, if a dude's sexual attraction is too high, his dominance is too high, women will put him into the fuck buddy category, because she knows, or one night stand, someone will cut you off because your dick's too good. If a woman puts you in that particular box, then she may fuck with you for once, twice, couple weeks, couple months, but it's just a matter of time before, when she feels it's time to love herself again, when she feels it's time to grow as a person, she's going to throw you away, because you're not something that she sees as long-term material. And not because you're weaker, because you're a beta male, but because she doesn't want to be submissive with a man who's dominant and masculine. She doesn't want to be submissive. She doesn't want to be feminine. She either wants to have a veneer of looking feminine, or she wants to downright be masculine and dominate and run the relationship. Overstimulation can work like this. When you're dealing with a particular woman, overstimulation can put you in a situation where you feel like you're settling when you're getting what you deserve. So, like, let's say you're a man. You go deal with a prostitute, you go deal with these no-limit soldiers, you go deal with these highly promiscuous women, you go deal with these women who have zero boundaries, or they're spiritists, or they're witches, or whatever it is, whatever they do, these sage burners. You go deal with them, and they give you these crazy toxic women with bad mental health issues. They don't have boundaries to try to be submissive with you based off of your level of masculine energy. Sexually submissive, they're just already like that. They're already wide open. And when you're dealing with those type of women, something that can happen is you'll have a false standard of how sexual you think a woman can or should be with you. And when you have that false standard, you're going to hold that against the woman who's not on that level, because you don't have the ability to take her there. So for a man, when you're dealing with a woman and you're just approaching it from a standpoint of trying to get pleasure, often what you can do in those precise periods and situations is that when you do that, you're putting yourself in a submissive stance. If you're a beta male, paying for a higher level of woman than you can get with your own looks, with your own mouthpiece, with your own game, what you're doing is putting yourself in a position where your standard of what you think you deserve is not going to be that high. Porn can do that to you too. What are you watching for? If you're watching for technique that can be taught and learned, and that's what you're getting off on, then that may not change your standards too much if you can teach those techniques. But if you're watching for a certain level of attractiveness and you're a 6 and you have no game, then expecting to get a 9 or a 10 on your scale of what's attractive, and you don't even see yourself that way, when you expect that, you're going to end up being an incel because you're not realistic with your standards, with who you are as a man, with who you are as a person. Same thing happens with women. Like, sexual overstimulation isn't something that can only happen with women. It happens with women. That's what many men are afraid of. And many men have a false sense of security about overstimulation. Say, well, it don't matter who she was with. It don't matter, but it do. If you're an alpha male, you know how to take a woman to the next level sexually. You already learned that. You're skilled, and you have the psychology, the mindset, the program to level that woman up sexually and otherwise, then cool. For those men, let's say like Alan Roger Curry, he was out of town one time and went to another country. There was a language barrier, so he paid for some pussy. What that woman gave him probably wasn't something that he couldn't get from a woman that he knows or from a woman he deals with on a regular basis. It was just the circumstance called for it. If you're a sexual alpha male, paying for pussy may not be something that hurts you because you can get a woman on that level. And if every once in a while you want to do something you just don't expect or desire of your main woman, that's cool. But after a certain point, it creates a Madonna whore complex where you give a woman credit for not being sexual with you. And if you find out that that woman is being sexual with others, you're going to flip your fucking gasket. You're going to flip. You're going to flip. And you're not going to see her the same. So it's really about getting to a place where your sexual desirability, your game, your mouthpiece is high enough so that if you're dealing with a woman, whatever woman is dealing with you is a woman who desires you enough to be on whatever sexual level you desire. Whatever you like, you should know how to teach it to her. If you like a woman to ride dick a certain way, you got to be dominant and masculine enough for her to be willing to listen to you. And then you teach her, a woman who desires you enough. If you like your dick sucked a certain way, you do that. And it can be extreme things. Let's say you like a woman who can deep throat. If you don't know how to train a woman's throat, then getting mad that your girl ain't deep throating is your problem. Now, if you aren't masculine and dominant and she don't respect you enough to listen and go through that process, then you got to work on that as well. Or find women who are just more feminine and submissive naturally with you. But the biology first approach can play a big part in that. That's where game comes in. You got to understand what I'm saying. So at the end of the day, I'm not a fan of prostitution. And a big reason why I'm not is because I want a woman. I want to make sure that my level of game, my level of sex appeal, my level of masculinity and dominance is enough to get a regular average woman who's more attractive than average, of course. I ain't trying to deal with no ugly bitches. And I ain't saying they ugly, I'm just saying average. But a woman of that caliber, that mind state, that mentality, to be as nasty as that prostitute that other people paying for. And you do that well, you don't even have to pay them money. Some women will pay you. Some women will put money in your pocket. I've been there. There are women who spend so much of their time as a regular woman, living their day-to-day life, living 9-to-5 jobs, working corporate jobs, who are looking for a man to be a dom. You dom her out, then her money is going to be access to you. Not saying you should use that or take advantage of that, but what I'm saying is that while some men are spending their money on women to get them to be nasty, some women are spending money on men so they can get dommed out. So this is Brodie's take on prostitution, fresh and fit versus Abba and Preach.